It's been over 2 weeks since the French election, so it's time to get this fucking video out of the way. Honestly, you'd think I'd be a lazy pot-smoking liberal hippie, but apparently I'm not, so... Anyways, I want to highlight this tweet that I found interesting and agreed with. That came from no other than Sean Spicer, who is somebody that, since they've become relevant as press secretary in January, has yet to say anything remotely intelligent as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you're getting into fights about inauguration crowd sizes. All you have to say is, it doesn't fucking matter, because there's this thing called the Electoral College, and that's how we elect presidents. Just, why play their game, Sean? Why stoop to their level? I don't understand. Instead, though, we have this tweet that I found quite intelligent, which is odd because you'd think that you'd be more intelligent while you're doing your job than just randomly tweeting. But whatever, let us read it out. Something tells me we'll have to save the French soon. Now, many might say that this is doomsday hysteria and fear-mongering. The problem with that is, this is not an assertion. This is an I think statement. It's not a I know statement. And the rebuttal to that might be, well, this is just Twitter. It can be whatever it wants. You can't read too much into a tweet, and I would throw that one back at you. You can't read too much in a tweet. Therefore, why is this statement a problem? If we're going to go by that standard, if we're going to go by the standard that everything on Twitter needs to be taken serious and literal, then literally this is not an assertion. You could argue this is rhetorical. Doesn't matter. What he's implying is an assertion. And how do you know that? You're not being charitable enough. You don't know what his intentions are because you're not reading Sean Spicer's mind. I would prefer to just stick with what people literally say, because there might be a reason why they literally choose the wording they choose, even in a tweet. Especially because Sean Spicer is in the Trump administration and the MSN constantly tries to ride their ass and write articles directly on Trump's fucking tweets. Why are you tweeting at 3 a.m.? That's the crux of our argument. Fucking worthless. Anyways, the point being is, if I was in that position, I would be 100% careful of how I'm tweeting, what I'm tweeting, and even sometimes I might word something a little bit worse, just to drum up the media in some cases, just to play the whole 4D chess perception game, you know what I mean? Anyways, moving on to another tweet, which is Sargon's video, I think Le Pen will win, which he posted 2 weeks before the election, and Tyler decided to quote this screenshot with, "Talk about jumping the gun." See, the problem with jumping the gun, you might have already guessed it, which is I think statement. Remember? I think Le Pen will win. I do not know, because I'm a whatever Sargon would say in that situation, because I'm not going to put words in their mouth, fuck that. But this is what I'm talking about, misrepresenting people and putting words in their mouth. This is not jumping the gun. Jumping the gun would be saying something like, Donald Trump has no chance of winning the presidential election. Now that is jumping the gun. And there's plenty of amazing compilations contrasting the outright stupidity of what are supposed to be the best political-minded talking heads on the mainstream networks with Donald Trump swearing in, which is just pure gold. Now that is what I consider jumping the gun. Now, why am I getting so anal about this terminology? Well, because I think you're allowed to make predictions. Even, dare I say it, outlandish ones, because when Ann Coulter went on Bill Maher, I believe, and answered Donald Trump to who had the best chance of winning the presidential election from all the candidates that are currently running, people thought that was straight up outlandish. But it turned out to be correct. It was vindicated in the future. It was an accurate prediction. And this is why I don't think we should hold them to the same standard as assertions. I think they should be very low on the criticism totem pole, because after all, they are predictions. I also think we should not technically misrepresent them as jumping the gun, Tyler. I'm sorry, I'm calling you out. Ooh. You know, I just mean this wholeheartedly. I'm not trying to be a giant cunt on the internet. And I know I follow you on Twitter, and you're probably annoyed by all the responses that you're getting. You probably have muted me by now, I would imagine, because you're, oh god, this guy's just annoying as fuck. He's constantly criticizing every second tweet or something like that. It's just me for the debate, bro. That's all it is. It's like I follow plenty of leftists on YouTube and Twitter and stuff like that, just to hear what they have to say. Because fuck the echo chamber, fuck that. I'm here to try and strengthen my arguments, not jerk off, right? And I understand. Oh, you probably don't have time to go through every fucking response and reply to every fucking response. I get that. I understand that. Probably being annoying. I'll probably tone it down. But God, you just say so many things that I just don't agree with, and I do think that you're open to conversation, so that's why I sometimes respond in turn. Anyways, I just wanted to make that clear that I'm not there to tell you to go fuck yourself and blah blah blah. You know how it is, I guess. If you ever watch this, of course. But 6 minutes in, you might already be thinking, now, what the hell is actual doomsday tweets? Well, where are some examples of that? Because there is, and I'll show you. First up, we'll do the Mike Cernovich ones. The board is set. Europe will have violent civil war. And that was after the results were in. That is an assertion. That is... I'm sorry, but that is definitely a doomsday assertion. Then we have some responses to Donald Trump's generic congratulatory message to Emmanuel Macron. These are just generic tweets that happen all the fucking time. The response being, they need a lot of help. France is losing its way. The French people support Trump. How the fuck do you know? How do you know? How do you know the French people support Trump? That is a retarded assertion, I think, because they voted against the nationalist candidate, so I don't know how you would know that. That really is mind-boggling, not making any sense. I would need some explanation even to consider it, because I'm not seeing it whatsoever. America should accept Marine Le Pen voters as political refugees. What the fuck? As if they're gonna be gassed? I don't understand. Is this supposed to be, like, combating the hyperbolicism of the left? I'm not following this one. That's nuts. Let's move on to Dave Collin from Computing Forever. Bye, France. Sadly, you just made the most uncomfortable bed you could ever possibly lie in. But waving a white flag is your specialty. What the fuck? I'm sorry, but that is too much. That is too much. And then this is him linking Donald Trump's congratulatory tweet again. If you didn't think Trump was a compromise before, fuck. How deep state cucked has this guy become at this point? What the fuck? Like I said, this is just a generic BS tweet that everyone always has. It's just your standard run-of-the-mill diplomacy crap. Now, to be completely fair to Dave Cullen, he does do a good video that's, I think, about 6 or 7 minutes long. That is a nice, nuanced video on his thoughts on the election and the result, which is much better because, let's face it, you can't have nuance in 140 characters. It's Twitter. Like I said, it is Twitter. But I do think you are allowed to make responses and criticize absolutely stupid assertions, which these are dumb assertions. I'm sorry, they are. And the reason why these doomsday assertions are starting to kind of piss me off is because we're hearing them all the time, that the West is fucked, the West is over, Sweden's fucked, Sweden's cucked, Canada's cucked, Canada's gonna be the next Sweden. And I just look at this and I think, what the fuck do you know about Canada? I would presume the same amount of knowledge I have about Sweden or Ireland or France. I don't fucking understand those countries at all. So why are you making these dumb fucking assertions when Trudeau says something fucking stupid? Just letting you know, Trudeau doesn't speak for all Canadians. And just because the zeitgeist and the trajectory of the country is heading down a certain way at one time does not mean that the trajectory or the zeitgeist will not change. Change happens. Change is very real. many, many things, especially politics, is subject to change. And I think this is a variable that people are forgetting. I think they're being way too hysterical and not really taking in what is productive rather than what is just fear-mongering. I think it's important to start asking, where do we go from now, rather than looking like total salty asses on Twitter like the Ramoners with Brexit. It also defies a little bit of logic. If French nationalism is for the French, then the French election should be between the French and not anybody else in the world. I mean, you're the pro-French nationalist candidate, yet screaming, France has made the wrong choice, as if you have any sort of say in that, technically speaking. At the end of the day, France has made its choice, and that is the reality of the situation. That is the nationalistic principle. But what about pragmatism? What if France is no longer for the French 5 years from now? What if we are on the path for France to become the next Middle Eastern backwater? What if France becomes some sort of Islamic theocracy, failed, corrupt state? What if France becomes the center of jihad and terrorist training and radicalizing? Will American military intervention be necessary in France to ensure the security of the United States? And you might be thinking, what the fuck? You just pulled a total 180. But that is not the case, because these are not assertions. These are merely questions. But I do think they are questions worth asking, even though I do think that there is an opportunity. I think there is an opportunity for much of this, if not all of this, to potentially be avoided. I think there's an opportunity for us to help this trajectory from becoming a reality. And that's why I think Sean Spicer's tweet was a far smarter response to the French election, because he was merely asking the question. He was using an I think statement. But I also want to ask another line of reasoning. When does a person step in and take away the gun from their suicidal friend? When is it? This is something that Dave Cohen brought to his video, and I think it is incredibly relevant. Seriously, you believe in liberty for all people. People should be free to do what they want. Should they be free to kill themselves? Should they be free to self-harm themselves? Because this is an important question here, because when we stretch it to nationalism and French determination, should the French be allowed to destroy their nation? Should they be allowed to vote away their rights? Should they be allowed to vote away their culture through demographic replacement? Maybe because they're dumb, maybe because they're mentally insane. I don't think that, but whatever reason that may be, should we allow that? Or should we say, no, you're not making sane choices. We need to step in and save you, buddy, because we don't want to see you die. And when should we do that? When is it too far? Is it owning a gun? Simply owning the gun? No, I don't think so. Is it simply talking and speaking suicidal? Is it listening to hardcore suicidal punk? Or is it finally at the point where you have the goddamn gun in your hand and you're talking in suicidal rambles and about to point it at your temple? You haven't done anything yet, but you're about to point it at your fucking temple and blow your brains out. Should we intervene then, or should we still say French determination, principle, nationalism? Maybe we can't do anything. Maybe that's why we should just let it go to shit. Maybe there is nothing we could do. But maybe there is. Maybe we should just at least try. And if there is something we can do, should we do it? When should we do it? At what cost will it be? Will it be some monetary funds? Will it be lives? Will it be more lives we're saving than lives we're losing by doing this intervention? Will it be sacrificing our principles? Is there a time when all principles have to be sacrificed in the face of pragmatism? But last point I want to mention is, do I have a say in French determination? And you would say, no, you're not French, you're Canadian. But it was my great-grandfather that was drafted and sent to France in 1917, along with hundreds of thousands of other of his countrymen that bore arms for your liberty. And they did it again in 1940s, as well as the Americans and the British. If France no longer becomes a bastion of liberty for the French, are their sacrifices in vain? What about the hundreds of thousands of men that are buried in graveyards across France that are considered Canadian and American sovereign ground awarded to us by the current French government, as well as monuments such as the Vimy Ridge Monument? Are those sacrifices in vain? Did they die for nothing? Is it because of this sacrifice that we have claim over French determination to some extent? Or is it we died for you to determine yourself however you choose, even if you choose to blow your own brains out? Is the only rightful course of action for us to hope they don't go home and blow their brains out after we, the doctor, cured them of their life-threatening ailment? Just hope that our saving of their life mattered? Is that it? I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking these questions, because I really don't know. I don't feel like asserting anything at all. However, what I do feel like asserting is our sovereign graveyards in France need to be respected by whatever takes their place. So, if France no longer becomes France and it becomes something else, potentially a Muslim theocracy, will our sovereign land be respected? Will our graveyards be recognized by that new regime, government, dictatorship, whatever it happens to be? Will it be respected? Will they simply pay lip service to that respect but not actually enforce it? Will radical, disgusting vandals come through those graveyards and not really giving a shit for the sacrifices that those men made, because they literally mean nothing to them? Will they deface those graveyards? And will the government merely not care because it's none of our business? Will they pave a parking lot over our graveyards? Will they knock down our monuments to our war dead? Because why wouldn't they? If they're no longer francophones, then what does it matter to them? It's wasted land, is it not? They have no connection to the people that were saved. They are now the, I don't know, whatever you call French Muslims in the future. French Arabs, or whatever it may be that they call this new conglomeration of Islamic peoples in Europe. I think it's reasonable to say that they probably won't give a shit. So do we proactively try to save those graveyards, or do we wait for them to be defaced and then bomb the shit out of this terrible war crime that is committed? Or will we simply ask that they punish the perpetrators and hope maybe we just don't do a goddamn thing about it? Even when it comes to that day when the solemn Mother of Canada is torn down and becomes nothing but dust, looking over the ridge of Vimy. I'm not sure, but I know these questions are worth asking. That's the only thing I am sure of. And maybe this has sparked your own answers or your own questions. So naturally those are for the comments. And I hope this has provoked some sort of thought in your brain, regardless of whatever nationality you have. Just keep in mind that I'm not asserting doom and gloom. I'm merely asking if it is a reasonable fear.